Hey folks, and welcome to day 1 of pre-season testing of the Bwoah Racing League Season 4. I'm Zataxter, and alongside me, Ruds, just like last season. What's up, Ruds? How you been?
I'm all good, Sarthak. Excited for the new season.
Yeah, I'm
And
super
a
pumped
first
too.
for us this season is the preseason testing.
Yeah, we've never had pre-season testing before. I mean, surprisingly enough, obviously. Second season we are hosting of the BRL, and new drivers out on track. A bit of change in teams as well. Looking forward to it, and we are heading to Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia.
Yes, this will be our version of preseason testing, and we do have multiple days as well. An interesting thing would be to see the various pairings we have on offer. Would you care to enlighten our viewers on that, Sarthak?
Yeah, let's head into the list of drivers out here on track as we get ready to get set to go at the practice session here at Spain. Of course, let's start off with Mercedes. We've got Fries out on track. He stays in the Mercedes team. He is the team principal as well in the in-game Mercedes team here in the BRL. Alongside him, there won't be anyone joining him today. Of course, tomorrow, however, his teammate Horning will be out on track. Moving further,
Very, very exciting pairing, I must say.
yeah, I mean the combination of a race winner in the BRL and also what Horning brings to the table of being a race winner in another series called Race 0R as well. We can hope for some interesting things.
For sure.
And Freeze just dropped in a message that he's all pumped and set for the session itself, even though he's alone out there. Moving on, the McLaren team, possibly one of two teams that settled with the same lineups. However, this was the previous season's Haas team. It's UK and Setu RC18 in the McLaren team. And of course, their reserve driver Thor is out on track today. UK will be out on track tomorrow. Thoughts on that team, UK? I mean, Ruds.
Well, UK is the joker. I mean, not a joker as in just a funny joker, but also a trump card of sorts for the league. And him becoming a TP was very much last moment, but it was definitely what the league needed. He's not racing today, but I definitely assume that his team orders have been very well implemented, and we will see some strong outings from both the drivers.
Yeah, we didn't really get to see much of Thor, did we, last season? So clearly him coming in out on track first here today. Let's see what he brings to the table, because to be honest, that was a realistic performance Williams he was in. So now clearly another thing we failed to mention was the fact that it's completely equal performance this time around. So let's see how they do.
For sure.
Freeze, first one out on track. And while we show you and stay on him, let's move on. Of course, we got Ferrari, the team Gouts really wanted to race for in-game. He finally got it. Alongside him, Big C56. Now, arguably, this team stands out for me because neither of them have been a race winner, so to speak. But, of course, we've seen them on occasions bring out the best from within themselves. Thoughts on that lineup?
I guess in this case, it's more of two strong, consistent drivers who might not have had their fair share of podiums. Ooh, Freeze spins right there as we speak. Thankfully, damage is turned off for our friendly session. But anyways, back to the point. I guess what Ferrari needs right now for BRL is to have two drivers who can deliver and who can match each other's pace. Because, you know, if they keep staying on track with each other, maybe they can help get forward. And that is what Ferrari needs right now. We definitely had Rusty Nish with a solid showing last season, but this time there's no star power. It's all about teamwork, which the real life Ferrari needs as well.
Yeah, of course. And moving on to another similar lineup, that of UK and Setu RC18 is defending BRL champion Big Man Joe alongside Rocket Man. Again, another individual who we didn't get to see a lot of last season is Rocket Man. And I'm honestly kind of worried, so to speak, that Big Man Joe got him on the cheap, if I may say, because he wasn't worth much Bwoah coins. but he has been known as a race winner in the seasons prior to that of the previous one.
That's very true. And Rocketman is gonna be a real mystery for the other teams as well, because the team principals have not seen a lot of Rocketman. I don't think Rocketman has seen a lot of Rocketman, but that is definitely gonna shake things up.
Right.
And I think Big Man Joe will be hoping that Rocketman gains his form as soon as possible.
Yeah, and looking at the lineups itself, last time around the Constructors Championship did go almost down to the wire, but Big Man Joe at the end of the day made it through, even being the only driver for the team with Rocketman's absence. But with the lineups that is there this time around, and the fact that there are reserve drivers, you could actually see the Constructors title and even the Drivers title for that matter to be even more difficult to achieve.
That is true.
Yep.
And while we were discussing about them, Avi just set the fastest lap in his Renault.
Yeah, and which was quickly beaten by KDB in the Racing Point. On that note, on that note, like I mean you went right to it. Are we surprised? But what is surprising is the fact that he's got a teammate like Sicknig. I mean, Sicknig is the team principal of that team, and him getting KDB, of course, no brainer. Really strong driver. You'd want him to be in your team. But this pairing of consistency and strength on track with Sicknig, who's arguably been caught off guard during qualifying sessions multiple times and is an aggressive driver out on track. What do you make of it, Rudra?
Definitely feel that this is that was upwards for KDB, because you saw what he did with the Williams. The same way what Charles did with the Ferrari, that's how KDB treated Williams. And Sicknig went all out for KDB. He battled everyone through the draft process and he landed KDB. And I feel this is going to be a dynamite pairing. I'm not going to say consistent, because we have seen that Sicknig sometimes has a few hiccups. But maybe with KDB at the helm, maybe he can also improve his game. Don't you think so?
Yeah, yep, I think so for sure. Moving on, of course, their reserve drivers out on track as well. Sicknig's stepping away from the tracks, and it looks like there was an Alfa Romeo back there that went into the barriers, and I'm guessing that is Big Man Joe, unfortunately. Regardless, TK Speedy, the reserve drivers are on track. Not much is known about drivers like TK Speedy. It's his first season. He's a debutant here in the BRL. So lots to look forward to. He's not the only one, of course. Baby Shumi in the Haas. Moving on to the Haas, they've got a team principal who's a non-driver TP as well, and they've got arguably a driver who's quite the competitor coming into the BRL, General Pepe.
Definitely. You could not even see him in the standings as well as the full map, but he will be there tomorrow, and I would advise everyone to keep an eye out for him. Maybe both eyes out for him, but because you are gonna enjoy that.
And as we speak about the Haas team, a handful of y'all watching, drop in the chat who are you here for. And RB Ferrello made it to the practice session. RB Ferrello, the Alpha Tauri team in game, headed by Rusty Nish, who's on track as well. Rusty Nish, 3-time race winner, along with Ferrello. Competitive driver, was in the Realistic Performance Williams last season around. In my opinion, a good lineup, but Rusty Nish has indicated that in order to get results in certain tracks, if he is on the back foot at those tracks, he will consider getting higher drivers or possibly bringing up his reserve.
I feel that is a perfectly plausible scenario, and if anything, we might see a very one-sided drivers championship, like amongst the few half a dozen drivers that we have, but the constructors title is going to be very, very competitive. I do have a feeling that we'll be seeing up 5 teams fighting it for the WCC at one point.
I hope so. I mean, at this point, I hope everyone's on their toes. Everyone's fighting for even that 1 point available in P10 when we start racing in Jan, where we head to Albert Park for the first race. But regardless, I mean, I'm all excited, and we haven't even finished saying what the lineups are. I'm on board Chris Bai at the moment, who's in the Williams racing team, which is mainly made up of the last season's Racing Point team. They did have a race engineer, if you remember Ruds, and he's right now the team principal.
sure.
He's right now the team principal. Arguably putting only Kapi in a reserve role and putting Hyrox on a driver role, on a main driver role. Thoughts on that? Because I felt that was a bit off, considering only Kapi's string of first 3 races coming into the league, 2 podiums in the first 3 races. I mean, I'd have him in my main lineup.
For sure. Racing Point were the most efficient team, arguably, of season 3, and they have essentially just rebranded themselves to Williams for this season. But if anything, I was expecting only Kapi to be the team driver, the main driver for any team for that matter. But for him to be a reserve of not just Williams but any team is almost criminal, because he's seriously underrated and he definitely would benefit from more track time. But I hope they employ a similar strategy to Alpha Tauri maybe, and he gets more minutes.
Yep.
Because to be honest, they have 3 really good drivers. Oof. Speaking of which, our driver in Haas, Freeman, who's on the softs, has just spun out of the track in sector 2.
Yep, on the grass. The reserve driver for Haas, Prof Z, may not be too pleased about this, but again, it is practice session. Things like this happens, and he's lost it once again. Lost it there once again.
Or with the tires, they must be really hot right now.
Yep.
Freeman
sure.
is one of our higher drivers, by the way. So for the viewers who don't know about it, we have a few really pacey, really amazing high drivers, which the teams can employ when they are running low on resources. And Freeman is getting in grips with the Haas. He might need some tips from Grosjean and Magnussen for that.
Yeah, perhaps. Car number 15, Freeman. Look at the gap, how close it is in terms of difference in times in the top 4. They're all within a second of each other in terms of lap times, which is interesting to see. And KDB clearly being vocal about the fact that the realistic performance Williams did have a lot to do in keeping him on the back foot last season, because he is right now the fastest out on track.
And with hard tires, I might add. While there are a few cars with mediums and softs on them, Freeman the only one on soft as of now.
And back to the lineup side of things, we got Accelerate, who just set himself the second fastest lap so far. Accelerate in Red Bull. Now this sounds like a typical Formula 1 scenario where a driver moves from Toro Rosso to Red Bull. That's exactly what happened to him. He was in the Toro Rosso last season, but he's alongside Sicknig's old teammate, who's as aggressive as he is, Shrivi, SV11.
I feel that this was the perfect move from Accelerate, one of the best transfers we have seen for season 4.
Yep.
And him combined with SV is gonna be a nightmare for a lot of the teams. We have one driver who's gonna push for the top ranks, and we have the other driver who's such a team sport. He will make sure that his team comes out on the top.
Yeah, I mean,
There might be a few broken wings in that process, but it's all for the team after all, isn't it?
yeah, let's hope not too many broken teams. 2 broken wings, broken teams. Oh my god. Okay. And AlphaTauri is on the grass right there. I wonder which one is that. I'm sure that is Ferrello. Regardless, let's talk about the Renault lineup. Now we've got Avi and Babaji out on track right now. That is Avi, who is a main driver for the in-game Renault team this time around, whose team principal is Mr. Wex. If you remember Mr. Wex, folks, 2-time podium finisher in the league. And Babaji is a higher driver.
Yep, another one of our higher drivers. And Mr. Wex was really disappointed to miss this session. He was looking for the competition, but I guess with Carey and Honing tomorrow, he has even more competition compared to today.
Yep. Yep, he does. On that note, Renault formidable lineup, like I said. Mr. Vex has some interesting ideas there. He is really playing into the favor of strengths and weaknesses. He, along with, just like how Rusty Nish expressed, how he will be switching out himself for his reserve driver if circumstance appears that, there's a track where he's comparatively not so good at. I mean, thinking about all this, Constructors title, like you said, 5 teams, possibly 6 teams might be in the mix at some point.
Definitely something to think about. And I guess it is sort of plausible. You would expect that. But then again, if they have a very good WTC ranking, I don't think there will be so many driver changes throughout the season.
Yep. Anything's possible at this point. But right now, Awi is still the fastest driver out there. 1 minute 17.942 on the hard tires. Clearly, of course, folks watching and the drivers watching post-race as well. Remember, drivers might sandbag. I remember Big Man Joe mentioning this in the BRL chat, I'm guessing on WhatsApp. He did mention that there will be drivers out here sandbagging perhaps, some drivers possibly showing too much. Now is Avi one of the drivers who's possibly showing too much?
Maybe, or maybe he wants to show people that he's not the one to be taken lightly. This will be his debut season in BRL after all, so maybe making a statement. Seems to be working so far.
Yeah, perhaps.
And since I am the king of bad segues, I'm gonna easily slide into the fact that Gotham is back on track. Our very own Goths. Medium tires.
Yes.
And he's currently P9.
Gouts. So how do you reckon he'll perform this season, Ruds? Like on a realistic note, right? It's equal performance. We've seen him lead a race that was in Austria. That was in a realistic performance, McLaren. Equal performance. The lad is a clean driver, known to be a clean driver. Consistent in terms of finishing, in the midfield, in the points beyond P5 and well within the points, of course, scoring points for his team and for himself. Where do you reckon how do you reckon he'll do, rather than where do you reckon in the standings?
This is a little bit tough to call. After all, we have received 8 new drivers for this season, and it could be anyone's game. But I would like him to finish top 10, but then depending on the consistency and how he fares in qualifying, because we have seen Watts always struggles a little bit in qualifying but makes up for it in race pace. So I guess anything above the top 13 or 14 is a very achievable target for him, but I would still wish for him to be in the top 10.
Alright, so you think he'll be as good as last season, regardless of the drivers out there?
Maybe even better.
Okay.
Because he will finally feel at home in that Ferrari. The Rosso Corsa might still be haunting him, I guess.
Yeah, perhaps. An interesting corner on the Bahrain track will be termed, so to say, as the Gouts corner. But more of that when we get to the track for the race.
I just hope he does not have any Vietnam flashbacks,
I
not
hope
the track
too.
Vietnam or
Yep,
Vietnam.
I got that clearly.
Maybe some viewers were confused, so better put it out there.
Thor's coming out of the pits in the McLaren. I love the livery.
Papaya orange. It's one of the finest looking colors on the track, and the rainbow decals have made the car even prettier.
Yep, it has. And we've got Prophecy in the chat asking for everybody's lap times. So he's doing some real good work as team principal. He wants to see everybody's lap times. Let me just pull that up for him.
That's the best part. Fastest lap as the gap, best as the detail, and a full track map. And let the TPs gather the data.
And on that note, right? I mean, Avocado 1 minute 20.753. He's in the bottom of the table right now. And when I look at it, 5 seconds approximately, just over 6 seconds,
right?
perhaps.
Just under 6, yes.
Yep. lack of pace. 1 minute 17.942. That lap is a solid one from Avi. But again, this is practice. 26.5 minutes to go, and we will have a feature race, a 5-lap feature race at the end of this session. One-shot qualifying will be kind of a headache to watch, considering the game doesn't let us watch everyone's perspective conveniently. But we got a Red Bull coming out of the pits right now as we stay on board Thor.
It is interesting to see that the top 11 for that matter, are separated by just 2 seconds. That's how tight the competition is going to be. And this isn't even the full grid. We still have more of them coming tomorrow. What are your honest thoughts on this, Arthur? I feel that we will have the top 10 in our standings be separated by less than 100 points.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe even lesser.
Do I go the distance and say probably top 12? Because top 15 is being a bit more ambitious, but you know, these guys are capable of it. But then again, do we bid on these times? Do we rely on these times? Because clearly Big Man Joe, 1 minute 20.845. Come on, man. Your right foot.
Do him justice.
Your right foot is not doing its job today. That's for sure.
Although he is coming to grips with his wheel, so there might be some leeway of sorts, but even then, this is pretty slow by his standards. In comparison, Rocketman is doing a splendid job at P12 for now. 6/10 ahead of his teammate, almost.
Perhaps he looks at this practice session as one, he gets Rocketman at least closer to him in terms of pace. You know, all the nitty-gritty, sorting them out. Because, you know, Big Man Joe, perhaps, arguably, I've seen multiple times that he likes to get into this zone in his head before every race and during every race even, and just work on himself on the down low. Not to say Rocketman hasn't helped him a lot, but then again, he is team principal, so he's looking at this from two different perspectives.
Makes sense, definitely.
Hard tires. Most of the drivers are out on track with hard tires. 12 lap old.
Freeman is on 12 lap old softs though, and he's still only P6. The harness is being really difficult to drive.
Perhaps, yes.
He has been going off the corners a lot of times. But do you think even in equal performance, the construction, the chassis of the cars definitely makes it a different experience for each team?
I feel so, to an extent at least. But then again, from what I've heard, you put in the amount of time that you can into this game, and the car, the machinery in equal performance is going to matter very less. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're a really quick driver in terms of pace, which means your reaction time, your hand-to-eye coordination, everything counts, right? In sim racing, everything counts. And also,
the track again.
And on that note, what also counts is input devices. And this is probably the best time to mention that a bunch of these drivers are on controllers, a bunch of them are on proper sim racing wheels, along with pedals, of course. And there are one or two out there on keyboard.
I wonder which of these devices are going to be the overpowered device of the season, you know? Because by simple logic, the wheel should be the most efficient one, but then again, a lot of them are on the controllers, so maybe this time it will be the controllers to win it?
A controller, a driver on a controller won the BRL championship last season. That is Big Man Joe.
Exactly.
And you did mention that he's on the wheel, he's getting to grips with the wheel, and you see him in 15th position right now. I know it is the practice session, but he did mention in the post-bid chat, he was very vocal about the fact that he is on the wheel. It's not the glory controller days anymore, but again, it's
but Freeze just spun.
Yeah, That's why my voice went crazy as well. On my screen, he just went off my screen. Car number 2, Freeze.
He's the only one repping Mercedes today, so he has that little bit of extra pressure on him. He's the team principal as well, after all.
Yeah. And we've got Vitesh P in the chat, who's showing his respect for the keyboard drivers, like everyone should. Quite the task to drive on the keyboard.
Definitely.
UK race winner on the keyboard. And he's on the wheel too this time around.
The OG legend, but sadly, we won't see the OG legendary keyboard antiques that we have seen so far. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe he'll do a switcheroo and some races will be on the keyboard. You can never expect anything from the guy, you know.
Yeah.
It's just a huge surprise.
It's
in a good way, of course.
It's UK, so just
Exactly.
just landed, boys. Says Rusty Nish in the chat, and looks like we have a DNF perhaps, or did he go into the pits? Nope, he's on track. He's in sector 2. Yeah, at the end of sector 2, in fact. And we should be able to see him in just a bit.
If we stick to Ferrelo's car, we might be able to see him there.
Yep, I think we got a glimpse of his rear wing. Yes, we did. Only copy. After 3 laps on the softs, unfortunately, DNF'd. 1 minute 19.281 is the time he's set.
It's a commendable time. That's around almost 1.5 seconds off. Not bad. Although it is on the softs though. It's impressive to see how the top 7 drivers right now are all on softs. Oh, speaking of which, Tanish goes quickest on the mediums.
Yep, and I saw an AlphaTauri spin out as I was on board with Freeze, and that was in between sector 1 and 2. Perhaps since Rusty Nish is watching, why don't you drop in the chat, buddy? How do you think your drivers are doing? Baby Shumi of Haas, 6 laps on the softs. I saw Profsy in the voice chat there, racing point again on the grass. Not the first time, or perhaps is the first time, not the first time a car during this session is out on the grass.
True. Avocado seems to have improved his time to a 123 flat. He is on the mediums out now. And Rastine should be looking very carefully at both of these drivers.
And of course, a bunch of these drivers invalidating their lap times.
We're having a tiny party in the pit lane, if you notice, Sarthak, in the full map.
Yep, quite
a lot
the
of
party.
drivers sitting in the pits now. I wonder if they are trying for some alternate strategies with their teammates.
Perhaps on screen right now is 2 Red Bulls, both the Red Bulls. That's Tanish and Accelerate on the main straight. Looking mighty well. I'm pretty sure that brings out a grin on Trivi's face if he's watching, that is. Tanish, fastest so far. 2 lap old mediums.
I guess the onboard of Tanish will give us a spectacular view of his lap as well as Accelerate. We can switch to his onboard.
Yep. He's got Accelerate up in front, and Accelerate's got Seto C18 as well. So that's his AI.
On the AI. Interesting.
And the Avocado makes space for the drivers. Locked up the front left there, Tanish.
Oh, Sethuram's AI holding him back.
And they've got an AlphaTauri right behind. A Red Bull and an AlphaTauri on the same screen brings out a smile on anyone's face. Isn't that right?
Do you think we might see another driver from AlphaTauri make it to Red Bull next season? On the off chance?
Perhaps? Rusty Nish?
Maybe.
Maybe.
If things go well.
They're just letting it out
He's
there.
the team principal, so he has the shots. He can call the shots.
Let's see how it ages. This prediction, so to speak. In 6 months.
We might even clip it and put it up, you know,
We
to see
will.
how right we were.
We will. Okay, the Rusty says, look at them improve now. So We will see them pushing harder.
Let's Tanish go.
And big man Joe is up at a P14. He's on an out lap, trying to set another lap time. Talking about the track itself, last season when we were here, we had the Supreme Leader win the race. And how it would have been if he was there, but the Red Bull of Tanish just took a nasty spin in Sector 2. He's coming to a halt. He's just letting
pass by. Wise move. Chris Bhai up to P3 on 16 lap old hards. Impressive. Only half a second behind Tanish, who's on mediums, might I add.
Yep. And like I was saying, on the note of, my head's all over the place.
I know, that's been caught us by surprise. You were talking about Big Man Joe coming up on P14.
Yep. Now I remember. Supreme Leader. The Supreme Leader. I don't know if he's watching, but I mean, for the handful of you are watching, 11 of you are watching, if you don't know who the Supreme Leader is, I'd say go ahead and watch the race we had at Spain last time around. Last season, he was in the Renault, and if I'm not wrong, it was his first race in the Renault as well, or second one for that matter. He is not on track because, again, with regard to input devices, he has kind of an issue on those lines. But if he was, and if he remained in the season last time around, I'm sure he would have given Big Man Joe a run for his money for the championship.
I would not be surprised if that did happen though.
Yeah.
It's alright. There are a lot of people who are going to challenge Big Man Joe this year.
Surely.
And Big Man Joe being on the wheel does not help his case at all.
Okay, Rusty Race seems to believe a lot of people, a lot of the drivers out on track are sandbagging. But for that, I'd say two things. One, how are you surprised? It is the practice session. And two, don't worry, there's still 14 minutes to go. There's another day of practice left as well, which is tomorrow. So perhaps we might just see at the very end of the session, and of course there's the race as well. On board Tanish, for longer than we expected, he still is the fastest driver out there. Avi, second fastest, Chris Bhai right up there as well. He's in the pits. KDB 1 minute 18.108. He is in the top 5. The only driver from last season was in the top 5.
RB Ferrello is up to P7 as well. He's on the mediums now, but the standings show hard, so I'm confused.
Well, that leads into the many conversations we've had about this game last season.
I hope this is a mindless, a one-time bug and not a regular thing, because it does not bode well if it is.
I mean, if you're talking about the game, I'd say let's hope it never occurs through the season once we start in Jan. But in the chat, a lot of interesting things coming up. Drunken Monkey Greater Than Supreme Leader, that was his in-game name. Ashwin is his name. Mighty driver. Hopefully we can have him in the commentators box sometime. Probably in race start in Australia. Make him flag it off. Yep.
Yes.
Ferrello just said a purple sector 1.
That is super impressive. His hot lap really looks nice. We can switch over to his onboard for even better view. His helmet looks sick, might I add. I'm really liking his helmet design. I don't know if you noticed that, Sarthak.
Yup, we can just catch it real close. Trying to get it clearly. It's a combination of black and white, and a nice one at that. Looks a lot like Hulkenberg's, might I say.
Sort of. With more grey wings than what Hulkenberg would have.
Did Ferrello just said purple sector 2? It did seem like it.
I guess so.
Going through sector 3, he's got one last corner to attack, and attack he will. Across the line, I wonder where he'll put himself. Not much, even though purple sectors, which means the other drivers out on track Right behind him are setting purple sectors themselves. What?
And the bug seems to have fixed itself. It does show him on the medium tire. Whoops! Somebody was there chilling. I wonder who it was. Was it Chris Bhai? No. Yes, it was Chris Bhai. He had spun out.
Lot of spins and one DNF already. Only Kapi. He is forced to spectate the session from here on out. 11 minutes to go. KDB just went quicker. First driver into the 1 minute 16 seconds range on the softs.
I really love the view for KDB's onboard because I can see his nice neon green and neon blue helmet. And he's on the softs. So this might make for some quick laps.
I'm sure
I admire the view. Must say that.
Yep. TK Speedy, the other racing point out on track, is 1 minute 22.297, 18th fastest so far. He's on softs as well.
If you look at it, it's more like the top 10 is its own separate category, and then you have the bottom 9 who are very close to each other. There's like a contest going on internally.
Yep, precisely.
And every now and then I do see one of them going up and the other one coming down.
Yeah, because if you look at the bottom 9, that's Big Man Joe, Gouts and Rocket Man right there. Those three aren't supposed to be on the bottom. At least not by our predictions or views or whatever word you want to put on it. Big Man Joe, he is either sandbagging or he's really honest when he said, oh, and Racing Point took a nasty spin KDB.
Ooh, that was almost a perfect 360.
Laid out on the gravel. He'll try. Yep, he will reset his track. But on that note, it does seem like Big Man Joe's really trying to get in grips with his wheel.
I guess it would be better for him to utilize this session to understand the limits of his wheel rather than setting fast times, which I think he's doing.
Yeah. Guess he wasn't being modest in the post-bid chat after all. Regardless, UK and Rashinish having a nice conversation in chat on what they're doing. They are talking to their drivers, evaluating a bunch of stuff. Of course, UK's driver on screen there, Setu RC18. TK Speedy passes KDB as well. Let's go on board Accelerate. He is second fastest so far, 1 minute 17.496 as he goes around sector 3.
Accelerate looks at home in the Red Bull. If we say that Gotts and Ferrari are a proper match, Accelerate and Red Bull are the other perfect match. And I'm definitely expecting this to have a tiny bit of a morale boost for Accelerate.
Yeah,
you can clearly see that.
To be honest, the biggest morale boost we can give him is to switch weather conditions to wet.
He would be required to do his mandatory rain dance before that.
He does love a wet race,
if
doesn't
you
he?
give Accelerate a wet race at Monaco. Do you think he'd be so happy, like he'd be happier than just a wet race?
I think earlier in chat I did see Accelerate mention, why didn't we pick Monaco as one of the tracks to test at?
He really loves Monaco and wet weather, the two things most drivers run away from.
Most drivers in our league for sure. But the two Red Bulls on screen together once again, and they are second and third fastest so far, both on mediums. Tanish on an older set. I'm really rallied up for the 5-lap race. I know it's just a feature race, just to collect more data for the drivers, for the team principals, for the teams, and perhaps for us to get a sneak peek into what everyone brings to the table moving into next season. But still, I'm super excited for it.
As Tanish heads on to the main straight, not using his DRS, weirdly. Maybe he just wants a race trim, perhaps. Looking at his race pace.
Practice session, pre-season testing. trying out different
So many new
permutations and
things to try out.
combinations.
Yes, precisely. To end.
Good starting hold start. Folks, after a minor technical issue, we are back, and we were on the note of talking about the next race, and looks like we are all set and ready to go soon enough, right, Ruds?
Yep, just on time. The session ended.
Okay. I'm almost there. Handful of y'all watching. Forgive us for the issue itself. Tell us how the session went. Tell me what I perhaps missed. What do you think I missed, Ruds? Anything interesting?
You definitely missed Red Bull falling down to P5 and P6 at one point, because all the drivers switched to the softs except Chris Bhai, Avi and Freeze, who were on the mediums, and Wix and TK Speedy remained on the hards for some weird reason. But Tanish ended up taking the fastest lap at a 1:15.900, and the second fastest time was a 1:16.500, so like 6/10 faster.
Told you, Ruds. Told you. At the end of the session, we're gonna be seeing something super interesting. But we are back, and we will have our viewers watch the session once again. I mean, one shot qualifying. Are we all set and ready to go?
For sure. One shot quali coming up, and I am excited to see what kind of lap times will we have here, because they were putting all these laps for 45 minutes.
Yep. Precisely. Checker flag for everyone, and I've come out with Tanish spinning. Aye. Or was that?
Okay.
Or was
he has
that?
earned P1. He's
was-
allowed to do those spinnies.
Oh, okay. That was a match. Okay, that was okay. My bad.
It almost felt intentional.
I think it was. That's why I even said it was my bad. Yes. P1 in the practice set so far. Tanish, as it ends, Babaji in P2, KDB in P3. Accelerate right up there. P4. And that brings the end to practice. Brings us to the end of practice.
It was a good practice session. I enjoyed it.
We saw.
And
Yep.
I do feel that we saw true pace for at least some drivers today.
Just some parts.
Maybe.
Yeah, our defending BRL champion is in P7 with a time of 1 minute 17.675. Top two are both new entrants, out of which Babaji is a higher driver. And down the order as we go, we got Baby Shumi is from the Haas in P16, as the higher driver for Haas is in P8, and Thor the slowest out there so far. But then again, he is the reserve driver, and it is a pre-season testing, so you never know who's sandbagging and who is not. I've heard a lot of good things about Thar, about how he is a strong driver. He was in the Realistic Performance Williams last season.
He
So
did give it his all, and there were promising signs from him for the races that he raced in. It was just the machinery, I guess, holding him back.
Perhaps. In the chat, SV, super proud of his drivers in P1 and P4. Nice little emoji going around in chat. And Baby Shumi all set and ready to go, all ready for one shot qualifying. Don't think we have all our drivers out on track though.
Yup, and I genuinely feel that given the first day testing, the prediction that I made for 5 teams competing for the World Constructors might just increase to maybe 6.
Maybe I got that one right, but again, too soon to tell. We haven't even had our first proper qualifying session. And it is one-shot qualifying, so we'll be on board, switching from driver to driver and whatnot. Let's have the lap times out, and we will switch from driver to driver. On board Rocket Man, as he goes through Sector 1. Who would you all like to see? Ruds, throw me a name, and let's see who's setting what kind of laps. Avi's already retired. He'll be starting at the back of the pack for the 5-lap race.
Yep, I guess we can move on to Big Man Joe's on board.
And back to the game being funny, an unreal scene here on screen with Rocket Man going through the safety car. And I have no clue why the safety car's out on track.
That might be a glitch because Avi retired, and that's all right though, as long as it was posted.
Yeah. Into Sector 2.
Rocket Man so far in P7.
No times being set. I mean, it is one-shot qualifying, so everyone's out on track. Red Bull TP is happy, says SW, but will he be happy after the one-shot qualifying session is the question. For the first 5-lap feature race, Big Man Joe comes across the line, and Tanish is on pole position for the 5-lap race with Chris by right behind him. Freeze goes third fastest, Ferrello right up there, and we've got 4 drivers who did not set a lap time.
So was Big Man just sandbagging? We may never know.
He's starting 6th on the grid, and we have heard him mention how he likes to climb up the order, and Freeze up in P3. Mighty lap, I must say.
Very, very interesting. We did have 4 DSQs, so including Accelerate, that will be a very interesting thing to look at.
And in an unreal scenario, we got KDB starting in P15 on the grid.
I guess he might have had a spin or something because he's 11 seconds off the fastest lap. That is a significant amount.
Perhaps. And we will be all set and ready to go in 5 seconds and counting. And yes, 5-lap race, Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. The first feature race. The first time we're seeing these drivers go head to head, toe to toe. You talk about a body part you wish. And let's see who come out on top. Tanish is on pole position. Red Bull's on pole position, so clearly SV is smiling, even though it is a 5-lap feature race. 30 seconds to go for the start. Any bold predictions, Ruds?
Right off the bat, Accelerate from the back of the pack into top 10.
Okay, all right. Okay,
I'm gonna play it safe this time.
I'm gonna say Freeze on the podium. Let's leave it at that. He is starting P3. I'd say, given the way he drives, I'd say he should be able to avert any kind of carnage going into turn 1 and perhaps stay on the podium. But lights are gonna go out any moment now, and we'll see the 19 drivers out on track. We're all set and ready to shoot across the main straight, and what a start they've had. And I mean, I'm amazed seeing all these guys back on track. I've got a huge smile on my face as they will go down the inside. Perhaps Williams, no, he will hold back Chris By, and it's been clean so far around until Chris By takes a nasty spin in turn 3, and he goes down the order as the Red Bull stays out on track, holding on to race lead. Sector 1 goes yellow, Freeze in P2, Ferraro in P3, and we got battles in the midfield. Wixley 56 making his climb. The Haas is going crazy and takes out Wixley 56, and there's a Ferrari on the gravel, Haas on the gravel, Ferrari spinning, and the carnage took a while, but it's here.
That was very unfortunate. Freeman also gets a warning. He gets a penalty as well, and now he's at the back of the pack.
KDB, what a stride he's made as he takes a pass on Rocky Man. He's up into P6.
Accelerate at P8. I guess my prediction did come out to be helpful.
Loses a bit of his red though. Within a lap, in fact, Rocketman goes off track there. Rocketman did give KDB a tough time in those 2 corners. but not for long, said KDB. Sector 3 goes yellow. I wonder what happened there. Avi at the back of the pack, Freeman as well. Babaji Thor, Tanish just set the fastest lap time as well.
Setu P5. He has been quiet all session, but he's been consistently providing the results. No wonder UK was hell-bent on getting Setu in his team.
And we see Freeze spinning, he spun.
He drops down to P9, P10.
Oh
and he
no.
keeps dropping as he cannot enter the track.
And we see both the Ferraris almost in a fight there. Let's move on there. Wix 356 on the tail of Gouts. Much like real Formula 1, isn't it, Ruds?
I guess the most realistic team we've had every season in PRL has been the Ferrari. TK Speedy with a 2-second time penalty.
Unfortunate for him. As it stands, Tanish leading this race. Ferrello up in P2 and Big Man Joe made that climb, which I expected, and I'm pretty sure you did too, Ruds. He is in P3.
For sure, no doubt about it. Oh, there is a Haas spinning in the background. I think that was Avocado, was it?
Yeah, perhaps Freeman.
Oh, it was Freeman again. No, it was Baby Shumi.
Yep. Avocado is in the AlphaTauri as he makes the move on only Kapi, who seems to be caught off guard. I wonder if he had a disconnection.
Babaji overtakes Gods. Wix could not. So the Ferraris are holding each other back, I suppose.
Perhaps on the main side, Wix 356 will he try what he's known for? A dive down the inside, perhaps Chris by making his strides up the order. He's into P7.
Look, KDB, he's timed 11 positions.
Sector 1 goes yellow.
Laps.
Sector 1 goes yellow, and that is Rocket Man falling down the order. He's trying to get back on track. Considering ghosting is switched on, he didn't have a nasty tumble with the two Ferraris.
KDB in P4 now. Hats off to him. What a drive.
Incredible recovery drive indeed. We've got Big Man Joe. These two, the title contenders last season, and this time around in the feature race, they're in P4 and P5. Chris By and Accelerate having a battle out there, and Chris By in the Williams just passed Accelerate, who's in Red Bull. Equal performance, no doubt. But 3V, what do you say about that, my friend?
Well, they have been ping-ponging a lot. It's either Accelerate or Chris by overtaking each other every 4 corners or something. KDB sets the fastest lap as well.
Accelerate's got DRS, but he just won't be able to do anything.
KDB and Big Man Joe, incredible, and KDB overtakes Big Man Joe.
A close one I missed, but not surprised, may I say. KDB in P3 and Big Man Joe is not gonna go down lightly, I'm sure. He's pushing real hard. I'm surprised to see Ferrello in P2. So what I've heard about him is completely true. He is really quick.
For sure, he was not messing about last season, and we did rightly put him so in that high value bracket.
Yep. And in the back of the grid, as Rusty Nish pointed out in the chat, he is fighting for position after position. Freeze is up into P16. Unfortunate spin, but he's making his strides up the order. 1 lap to go, so clearly he'll be stuck out of the points.
Respectable recovery after all, but unfortunate for him.
Top 3.
Freeze with the 2-second.
Big Man Joe! Big Man Joe goes onto the grass. Unfortunate for him. As I was looking at the times between each driver on the last lap, disaster for Big Man Joe. But again, Seto RC18 has Chris By hot on his tail, and Chris By will make the move, had DRS, and should get it done unless Seto RC18 pulls out something really interesting here.
There are 3 cars right next to each other. One move and the other gains. I think Accelerate will be looking for that move for Seto RC18, and he does. Ooh.
Around the outside,
Almost
he tried. Holding on, wheel to wheel, and he should be able to get it done. Yes, he will, up in a P6 as we see the Avocado tumbling down the order, and I have a feeling he did spin. But with a 4-second gap between him and his competitor. Tanish is in the race lead. And last lap.
Look at KDB just chasing RB Ferrello, doing everything possible to get it, but Tanish has been coasting this race. He's just led from the first lap and he's built such a distance.
Across the final corner and across the finish line, Tanish takes the race win. Ferrello and a spin for KDB as he tried to fight for position on the main straight.
No.
And it's possibly costed him the podium in the feature race at Big Man Joe. I don't know how he does it. He is on the podium nonetheless. Chris Bai goes up into P4. Big Man Joe, KDB, unfortunate for him, while fighting for position with Ferrello, got caught off guard.
Look at both the Ferraris making it to the top 10.
Yep. Something to be happy about and something to possibly work on top of going into the first race in Australia. But then again, I wonder, perhaps even this 5-lap race, did a couple of the folks kind of hold back? I see Accelerate in P8. Perhaps. Regardless.
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, they'll have their own ways of analyzing the times, the way drivers drove in particular sectors. I'm sure the team principals and everyone. But at the end of the day, Tanish, P1 in the first 5-lap feature race. Driver of the day, KDB. Of course, well deserved. And what a drive, P15 to P3 almost, until the last corner, last lap, last moment, in fact, 50 meters perhaps from the finish line. But Tanish finishes in P1, AlphaTauri on podium and Alfa Romeo as well.
That race was a treat to watch, and if this is just a teaser of what's to come, I cannot wait for day 2. We're gonna have an even tense fight because we're gonna be having a lot of team principals coming in, as well as a few big weights that we spoke about today.
A 5-lap race, and we've got 3 drivers who racked up a couple of penalties. Oh, more than 3 in fact. Accelerate, TK Speedy, Freeman, Freeze, Avocado and Thor. All of them had a couple of penalties, and Thor racking up 2 4-second penalties. 2 2-second penalties, making it 4 seconds. A Big Man Joe on the podium, KDB getting caught off guard. Perhaps something to work on, KDB. A marvelous climb for Accelerate as well, who qualified on at P18, climbed up to P8. Your prediction came out right, Ruds.
Yeah.
Mine.
I'm glad for that. I was just waiting to point it out that, see, I guess I did predict something right today.
Yep, you did. Mine, however, took a drastic turn once Freeze took a turn he shouldn't have. A nasty spin caught him off guard. Nonetheless, the handful of y'all who joined us, thank you very much. And we will see you tomorrow in day 2 of pre-season testing. Cheers, Ruds.
Goodbye.